And they were going to have to appoint a special prosecutor because they quickly found out that members of the DA's office, quote, had been guests at Hammond's home and may have been videotaped.
Oh, I think we have our reason for why all of that evidence was destroyed.
Mm-hmm. But they are quick to write this off. Like, same way when Tim, right, when he gets exonerated, they're like, let's just make this go away.
Mm-hmm.
And when this happened, they wanted this to go away. So much so that they were even writing off stories that made no sense. Like, people were like, oh, he wouldn't have hurt Peggy because, like, he didn't even use a scalpel. Yes, he was a doctor in surgical precision, all that, but he didn't even use scalpels. But, like, a guy who he ran the practice with was like, yeah, we absolutely do. And there's an affidavit from a woman who's like, he literally used a scalpel on me. And just to show you how far under the rug they were pushing this thing, everything in the paper, like at the time, was about the videotapes or whatever. Nobody publicly was connecting this guy to Peggy Hettrick in 1995. And nobody was telling Peggy's family about him, even behind the scenes. Tom didn't find out about Dr. Hammond until years later. And the way he found out was bananas.
I remember a few years ago, they talked about a doctor. I was coming out of the Village Inn with my friend, and he looked at the news box, Rocky Mountain News, and had Peggy's picture on the front cover of the newspaper. And he said, hey, Tom, that's your sister. And so he got the newspaper. We went back into the Village Inn. I read it. I skimmed over it and I went, what? Who is this doctor? You know, nobody's ever told me about this guy.
So the defense never knew about any of that. Not just the Hammond stuff, but like so much of what we've talked about. And in looking at the file, when I say there's more to be done, I mean, I also was coming across names of people it doesn't seem like they really dug into. A guy named Greg Case, who she was like dating at the time. Derek Cordova, who she had gone out with in the past. A guy named Tim Matthews, who apparently liked Peggy and was jealous of Matt. And I'm not saying those guys had anything to do with anything, but to me, those are people who were clearly close to her, who hung out with her, who maybe were with her in like times leading up to her death.
They were in her circle.
I know. And so when I say that more can be done, like, I don't think we can just rely on DNA and like call it quits. I think there's going to have to be legwork. And I think there's still a lot of legwork that can be done even decades later.
Right. But we know that Tim was exonerated in part by the DNA evidence. So like whatever happened to those partial matches?
So we did get some partial profiles, and none of those matched him. So there were some important ones.